This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
PM urges businesses to remain optimistic despite economic climate. PNG ranked low on Corruption Perception Index. And renewed call for ban on deep sea mining. A very good evening. You're watching National EMTV News. I'm Godwin Eki. Thank you for joining us. And we begin with our top story. PNG is set to experience exciting times ahead in terms of its economic growth as the nation heads into its 50th year of independence, with major economic projects coming on stream in the renewable and non-renewable sectors. This was the assurance by Prime Minister Marape to the business community at the annual Prime Minister's Back to Business breakfast held today at the Hilton Hotel in Port Moresby this morning.
The Back to Business breakfast with the Prime Minister is an essential event where the public and private business community can meet, talk and share on what must be done to achieve positive growth in PNG. Today was the 6th time the business community was addressed by James Marape as Prime Minister at the 11th Prime Minister's breakfast hosted by the Business Council of PNG and supported by Kina Bank.
The Treasurer's 14-year fiscal repair strategy is the flagship of the Marape Rosso's economic stability. Covering reforms in the fiscal and monetary space, the intent is clear. Configure a stable economic policy that drives economic development, and the reactions in the markets have been mixed.
In his keynote address, Prime Minister James Marape recognized and thanked the private sector for their efforts in contributing to the economy. The Prime Minister then elaborated to those in attendance on how the government does its job of supporting the growth of the private sector and what the business community must do in collaboration for nation building. Marape then urged businesses to be optimistic and gave the reason why.
Be optimistic. You're in a growth country. Our economy will continue to grow into the future as we stick to the path we took back PNG and placed it on, a path that is free from corruption, a path that is an opportunity, has equal opportunity for everyone. This was the place we were before 2018. And we took it back from the ugly hands of corruption and personal interest. We have now placed it on the road where I believe all of you in business space and our citizens will have a fair opportunity.
Prime Minister Marape stressed that for 2023, his government is investing in education, health, law and order and infrastructure, key enablers for economic development. The Prime Minister also alluded to the exciting times ahead when he spoke on the 5 big projects that are earmarked to push the economy over 200 billion kina, but did not give specific dates on when these projects will start.
All these are coming around in the first half of this year. I hope that substantial progress is made in these 5 projects. This will deliver to our economy big movement in as far as our economic life is concerned. And I want to give an encouragement to each and every one of you in the business sector, in the financial sector, in the support sector. These 5 big projects, once moved in the next 10 years, will move our economy like never before.
Prime Minister Marape has urged the business community to remain optimistic. Despite the 5.5% inflation forecast, the Prime Minister has also promised continual dialogue, which will now happen quarterly, headed by the Treasurer Ian Lynch-Starkey. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
Transparency International PNG has released the results of the 2022 Corruption Perception Index, or CPI, yesterday. The CPI is a study that scores countries worldwide based on perception of public sector corruption. Enthusiastic members of the National Research Institute, the Independent Commission Against Corruption, and the media attended.
2022 Corruption Perception Index.
The 2022 Corruption Perception Index scored PNG as 30 out of 100. This has highlighted the lack of progress in the government's efforts in clamping down on public sector corruption. It is understood there have been some positive developments. Unfortunately, these have been isolated and have not been fully implemented. TIPNG Chairman Peter Aitsi elaborates on the findings of the CPI.
Today, Transparency International, along with 90 other chapters globally, launched the 2022 Corruption Perception Index. This is an annual index that's released by the Transparency Movement to score the performance of countries in terms of their actions against corruption.
These findings indicated that in the Pacific region, Fiji was ranked the best performing country in terms of eradicating corruption, followed by Vanuatu with 48, Solomon Islands and PNG with 30. Based on the CPI score, this is Mr. Aitsi's recommendation.
We really need to focus our efforts in strengthening the work of our police, our ombudsman, our judiciary, our watchdog agencies such as ICAC, and allow them to work independently so they can help us start to really weed out some of this corruption and in particular take action against these corrupt networks.
Meanwhile, the Independent Commission Against Corruption chair says more awareness and education need to be given to our people to report corruption in all levels.
This year is a year of awareness, so we have the law that has already been established and the other enabling legislations like the Whistleblower Act and the amendment done to the POCA Act that also inserts the unexplained wealth provision. So we need to educate our people at large about the law itself.
Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
The Alliance of Solwara Warriors and community leaders are calling on the government to ban seabed mining and to cancel all the licenses of the mines in the country. In a press conference today at the Catholic Bishops' Conference, 3 panelists has discussed the impacts of the seabed mining to the coastal communities if the mine takes place in the country's ocean.
The Alliance of Solwara Warriors, representing the communities in New Ireland Province, has submitted an objection to the Mineral Resource Authority yesterday to stop a new joint venture called the Deep Sea Mining Finance and Sustainable Mining Solutions from pushing forward the seabed mining project in the Bismarck Sea. So far, 3 objections has been presented. According to Jonathan Mesulam, a member of the Alliance of Solwara Warriors, the objections submitted to MRA is based on points that there is no policy in place for seabed mining in the country, no legal framework in place to guide the people and the maritime that may be affected, and importantly, the damage it will cause to the coastal people.
Point number 3 that we have raised is seabed mining is an experiment. It is never done anywhere in the world, and that there are no sufficient scientific information or knowledge on impacts on the marine environment. The benefits are known and the risks are unknown.
Mr. Mesulam stated that no information was given to the people on the advantages and disadvantages of the mine. The government has not taken the consent of the people before agreeing to the mine.
All information, the good and bad, presented to the communities, so the communities can weigh out such project before they make their decisions.
Center for Environmental Law and Community Rights lawyer Anthony Wallep says the biggest concern for them at the moment is that there is no law on the seabed mining in the country. However, he said there is international human rights law that guide the interest of people and business. He stated that also the PNG Mining Act 1992 do indicate the rights of people to have a say on their land and sea.
Under the current international law, government are obliged to consult indigenous communities before any development affecting the lands and resources take place.
Mr. Wallep said even if there is no law on the seabed mining in the country, the government must listen to the people because they will be the ones affected. The General Secretary of Catholic Bishop Conference of PNG and Solomon Islands, Father Giorgio Licini, added that people's welfare, such as food security, employment and livelihoods, will be affected if the government allow the mine to take place. He pledged the church's support to stop seabed mining in the country. The provinces earmarked for seabed mining are New Ireland, East New Britain, Manus, Medang, Alatau and Bougainville. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
Regional Member for Bougainville and Internal Security Minister Peter Chamalili Jr. has praised political leaders of Southern Highlands Province for setting aside differences for the good of the people. He expressed his view in front of the people of Momay Oval in Mendi recently, during his visit accompanying the Prime Minister and several fellow ministers to witness the first Provincial Assembly meeting for the year.
Minister Sia Malili Jr., who is not new to Southern Highlands Province, said he was happy for the people that the issues affecting service delivery have been laid out plainly when all leaders sat together for the first time. He reminded the people of Southern Highlands that he came from a region which poor leadership had destroyed, and he was amongst the young crop of leaders trying to rebuild what was lost in the last 20 years.
Something say kirap na pundown long leadership na tete Southern Highlands me osem young leader of Bougainville regional member me just like congratulating you all leaders. You will make the change and the people will follow. And today change and begin. So me like talk thank you.
Sia Malili Jr. said in his previous capacity as the Executive Director of PNG Sports Foundation, he had supported the hosting of PNG Games in Southern Highlands, and he hoped to return with his team from the autonomous region of Bougainville by the end of this year. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
After the break, agriculture encouraged, retirees farewelled, and public solicitor launched his 6th book. Those stories and more coming up next. Stay with us on National EMTV News. You're watching National EMTV News. The 2023 legal year was launched today in Port Moresby. Members of legal fraternity, including police and CS officers, were all in attendance to dedicate their work for this year back to God.
Members of the CS and police band paraded to mark the start of the launch. The legal fraternity were encouraged to serve with due diligence and attend to their duties faithfully. Judges, lawyers and magistrates in attendance during the launch today were told not to entertain corruption at all levels. In addressing everyone there, Justice Gavera Nanu said honesty and dignity must prevail every time. He said decisions must be made according to the laws of this country. Towards the end of this special occasion, members of the legal fraternity, including police and CS commissioners, were blessed and dedicated to the Lord before the commencement of the 2023 legal year. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Agriculture Minister and Goroka MP Aye Tambua has encouraged the people of Southern Highlands Province to get into agriculture at Momay Oval in Mendi recently.
Minister Tambua, who was part of the invited dignitaries to witness the Southern Highlands Provincial Assembly meeting, said people need to be encouraged to work the land. He told the crowd the bush knife was a gardening tool and not a weapon.
Before 1960, come 1980, Southern Highlands got 10,000 black cattle, one kind of sheep, coffee to I pull up. In fact, Southern Highlands growing the best organic coffee in Chalo, Papua New Guinea, in Chalo world one time, Poroma.
Tambua also encouraged district administrations to take stock of youth and encourage agriculture entrepreneurs to build the province through viable projects. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
Long-serving staff of the Western Provincial Administration were farewelled in Kionga on Monday this week. The 8 retirees from the North Flight District reached the retirement age of 60 years and above.
These public servants have been serving in Western Province for over 45 years since their teenage years in early 1970s. Their services were in agriculture, education, office administration and other roles, ensuring people of Western Province live a better life. All public servants in Kiunga gathered together with their families and friends to witness the farewell ceremony. One such public servant farewelled was Jimmy Woya, who has been serving in the education sector for 49 years before his retirement last year.
You young people who are graduating today from St. Kennedy and graduates across the country, independence and self-government is in your way. You go on wherever you are, talk. All by not understanding you, but you keep working and talk. So the future generation will push it. You start off.
Their work, sacrifices for change and commitment since 1970s has helped develop the province to this stage. Western Province Administrator Robert Kayun commended their work in developing the province and thanked all for nation building as a whole. He has urged all other public servants of Western Province to continue to work together.
But the job they are doing here is for all of us to continue together. I want us to work together and be one of our family, serve our people together.
Amanda Ilaitia, National EMTV News.
Launching his 6th book titled Criminal Law in Papua New Guinea Defense and Prosecution is author and public solicitor Leslie Mamu. Mamu has written books on bail, Supreme Court, National Court Appeal and now criminal law. Mamu alluded that writing books is not an easy process as it is time-consuming and very tiring. But after many sleepless nights, he was finally able to launch his book with the official launching done by Chief Justice Segip Salika. The book, titled Criminal Law in Papua New Guinea Defense and Prosecution, according to author and public solicitor Leslie Mamu, took some time to put together after many sleepless nights, tiring hours and time-consuming, said it wasn't easy to put the book together. While this book features the laws surrounding criminal law and justice system, where both police and those involved in various offences, author Leslie Mamu says the book has everything a person needs to know when it comes to dealing with misconduct, as well as those involved in criminal offences and wanting lawyers.
The book that Chief Justice launched tonight, the Criminal Law, covers the criminal justice system in the country. Criminal cases where the police are involved, where a person commits a crime, an offence, and the police comes in to arrest a person, and that's where a person needs a lawyer for bail or for representation in court. And so the book covers those procedures.
With the launch being his 6th, Mamu has also written other books in the past that are used by universities, practicing lawyers to law firms and even court judges in the country. While the newly launched book is on criminal law, there are also other books written by author Leslie Mamu on bail application, Supreme Court and National Court Appeal.
The beauty of those stories that we hear about, the assistance that it provides, the knowledge it provides, and the benefits that come from the book, for instance, the sales from the books, and the fact that you're helping your country to advance one step further in terms of the body of knowledge.
He said while book writing is no easy task, many times authors are writing books to help provide information that are necessary, saying that information is power. As an author and public solicitor, Mamu said time and money is what every Papua New Guinean would say is the problem, but when one puts time and effort into doing something and achieving that dream is something one can only achieve.
An author does not just put in those man hours in vain. at the end of the day, we're trying to help provide vital information to add to the body of knowledge in the country for educational purposes.
Those who gathered to witness the launch on the night were public solicitors, Deputy Police Commissioner, retired solicitors, amongst other special invitees, including both the printer and the publisher, as well as the special guest who launched the book alongside author and public solicitor Leslie Mamu was Chief Justice Segip Salika.
Eyes upon me, I formally launched the book Criminal Law in Papua New Guinea, Defense and Prosecution by Leslie Benjamin Mamu. Congratulations, Mr. Mamu.
Those interested to purchase the book can visit the UPNG bookshop to grab yourself a copy. Number One Super Limited officially opened its Kiunga branch today. The new and refurbished NSL office is located in the Western Province Construction Limited building in the center of Kiunga town.
Present at the opening ceremony were Number One Super Limited Chief Executive Officer Paul Seya, Number One Super member representatives, Provincial Administrator Robert Kayun, and Governor for Western Province Tabo Yoto. This branch is fully air-conditioned, features improved staff and member amenities, and utilizes a backup generator to cater for over 3,000 plus members. Seya said the Kiunga branch is now conveniently located within walking distance to key state institutions and several other businesses which employ many of NSL members in Kiunga. He further added that Kiunga has the potential to grow in a key industrial township in the near future. With the establishment of this new branch, NSL currently has 22 branches countrywide. Amanda Ilaitia, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2765 US, $0.3885 Australian dollars, $0.2470 euro, 35.50 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York closed, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed lower, copra closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, and copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues after a break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. Moving to overseas news now, and NATO Secretary General has criticized China for bullying its neighbors.
On a visit to Japan, Jens Stoltenberg has stressed the need for democracies to work with the alliance to defend the international order. Mr. Stoltenberg says Russia and China are leading an authoritarian pushback against international rules-based order.
China is substantially building up its military forces, including nuclear weapons, bullying its neighbors and threatening Taiwan, trying to control critical infrastructure and spreading disinformation about NATO and the war in Ukraine. China is not our adversary, but we must understand the scale of the challenge and work together to address it. Beijing and Moscow are leading an authoritarian pushback against the international rules-based order.
The death toll in Pakistan rises to 100 and the search for survivors continues.
The death toll from that suicide bombing in Pakistan has risen to 100 now, and the search for survivors continues. The blast, which ripped through a mosque inside a police security zone in Peshawar, is one of the deadliest attacks on Pakistani security forces in recent years. At least 170 are wounded, many critically. The Taliban has blamed the bombing on a splinter faction within its group.
Ukraine is hoping to secure international support for banning Russian athletes from the 2024 Paris Olympics.
The International Olympic Committee's previous recommendation to ban the athletes has been applied by many sports federations. However, last week it backed a proposal by the Olympic Council of Asia to allow Russian and Belarusian athletes to compete in Asia, which would potentially include Olympic qualifying events. Russia says it welcomes any IOC moves to allow its athletes to compete, but Ukrainian athletes are appealing to the IOC not to betray the Olympic spirit.
The Russians are Olympic champions in crimes against civilians. They have the gold medal in deportation of children and rape of women. You cannot put your Olympic emblem on these crimes because you will be an accomplice with this abominable war.
A key report is to be delivered today by the Alice Springs controller, recording the Alice Springs crimes.
Central Australia is waiting with bated breath to hear exactly what recommendations are made by the new controller on a path forward. Over the last week, we've heard cries and pleas from all sections of the community here. People say that they are desperate for solutions to a problem that has been decades in the making. That path forward is going to be steered by Controller Darrell Anderson, who was given this new role a week ago. A Luricher woman and a long-time serving public servant, she's now the most powerful public servant in Central Australia and reports to both the territory and federal governments. Now, this last week, she's been meeting with government agencies, NGOs, and members of the community ahead of her report's release. Now, we understand she's specifically been tasked with recommending a way forward on alcohol restrictions here for town camps and remote communities. She's expected to make recommendations around this specifically, but also around other solutions she thinks could also make a difference. Now, after the report's digested by both governments, Ms. Anderson will have the authority to steer both Commonwealth and territory level agencies through the changes that the governments decide to adopt.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Today, Governor for Enga Province, Peter Ipatas, told EMTV's Trukai Sports that Enga, as always, despite COVID-19, is looking forward to host the 2023 Ipatas Cup off-season rugby league competition. He said sports is one tool used to not only bring young people together, but to use sports in changing the mindsets of the young people. He said this year again 100,000 kina is up for grabs, with 50,000 kina to award to champion team.
It's static. It's always been 100,000. There's 50,000 for the first is a champion team. Then the runner-up is on 25,000. And then it's the third one is 15,000. And then the fourth is 10,000, I think. Yeah. We are happy this year that National Gaming Board, Control Board has come on board. Coca-Cola are not sponsoring us anymore, as you know, because of COVID. So we are hoping that they will come back later. But we haven't taken the name tag out, because we have a long relationship. So we want the young people to focus on sports, get the mindset out. So we're happy to continue because this has been an off-season, game for a long time. Now we're going into the 21st year. So we are more consistent than any other, game. Even SP competition stopped in this country, but we didn't stop. Every year we have always had a competition.
Professional PNG international fighter Nelson Samson started his training last month in preparations for 2 events this year. The first event is for his local club, while the other is for his international bouts. PNG International professional kickboxing fighter Nelson Samson and president of Samson Anam Combat Promotion in PNG started training in the second week of January in preparations for his fights in Australia later this year, 2023. While doing his training at Port Moresby Sir John Guy Stadium ahead of his international fights, Nelson is also training some interested students that have joined his club. While these fighters are all new in the club, there are still a few senior fighters who are also helping him train the kickboxing fighters. As an international fighter and president of a kickboxing club, he said the code needs some support and needs to be revived and making kickboxing alive. He said his club, Samson Anam Combat Promotion, last hosted 3 local kickboxing events in the past in 2018 and 2021. Meanwhile, depending on what little support the club receives and the sacrifices President Nelson Samson has put into, not only for his preparations as an international fighter, but for the upcoming young athletes of PNG, he is doing his best with whatever means he can to host seasonal events. This year, he is planning to host a 2-day kickboxing event on March 10 to 11, 2023. And is seeking a sponsorship from any interested individuals or companies who want to support the club and the young sportsmen and women in order to buy medals and trophies. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Moving to overseas sports now, and plans for a $65 million for the York Park Stadium in Launceston has been unveiled, but the second and third stages of the project remains unfunded.
But still $65 million getting pumped into this stadium we can see on screen now will be great for football and Tasmanian sport in general down there. The upgrade includes a new eastern stand and then improved playing facilities and a new entertainment precinct within it. So it will provide an extra 1,000 seats as well and will feature better amenities for players and coaches as well. And then within that entertainment precinct there will be better food and beverage outlets. So just a massive revamp going on there. We know that Tasmania is yet to have the AFL and AFLW licence granted to it, and I'm sure that this is a big part of that.
Okay, and sticking with AFL, what's been happening with one of the Bulldogs players who struggled a bit over the last 12 months?
Yeah, struggled a bit. ACL seemed to be, I guess, the talk of the morning. Josh Bruce basically came back from an ACL injury late last year, but he really struggled. He came over as a high-profile key forward to the Bulldogs, and he played a couple of great years there from the Saints. But then, last year really struggled to hit his straps. That was the only goal he kicked in the 5 regular season matches.
Socceroos star Harry Sauter will play in the English Premier League after Leicester City confirmed it made the 24-year-old a deadline day signing.
Flight, the 24-year-old defender has left Stoke City for the 2015-16 EPL champions in a deal believed to be worth, Joe, just over 26 million Australian dollars. He had a brilliant World Cup campaign and really enhanced his reputation, defending so well.
He's a big unit, isn't he?
Yeah, he's massive, but the way he moves is really great as well. And he's such a threat from set pieces, as we just saw there. And I guess the way he performed at the World Cup is, I guess, that performance is enhanced even more, given he came off the back of a torn ACL and he only played a handful of minutes in the lead up to the tournament.
That ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby partly cloudy with possible patchy rain. Daru few showers. Kerema cloudy periods with patchy rain. Alatau possible brief showers. Popondetta cloudy periods with patchy rain. In the Mamase region, Ley few showers. Medang partly cloudy with brief showers. Wewak possible brief showers. Vanimo possible brief showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, possible brief showers. Kavieng, partly cloudy with few showers. Kokopo and Rabaul, partly cloudy with brief showers. Kimbe, cloudy periods with few showers. Buka, partly cloudy with few showers. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, partly cloudy with patchy rain, then morning fog. Goroka and Kondiawa, partly cloudy, then morning fog. Mendi and Wabeg, partly cloudy with patchy rain, then morning fog. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samarai Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Samarai Islands to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Cape Vogel to Ewan Gulf to Finschhafen, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitis Dampier Straits to Siasi and Long Islands, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters north of Long Island to Medang to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Ocean forecast: Coral Sea sees slight northwest winds of 10 to 15 knots. Solomon Sea sees slight to moderate northwest winds of 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea sees smooth northeast to northwest winds of 5 to 10 knots. And Pacific Ocean sees slight to moderate northeast winds of 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's how it is for Wednesday, the 1st of February 2023. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.